All right. Hi, Tawny. Thanks for coming on the show. Some sort of sound just came out. It's just fine. Be, be yourself.
I'm myself right now. I'm fucking awkward.
I know. I'm just kidding.
Sorry, are swears allowed or no swears?
Yeah, you can swear. You can swear all you want, which shows me that you've never listened to my podcast. I'm just kidding. I don't care.
There's only one podcast I listen to.
Which is that?
Last podcast on the left.
You know, I fell off with that one after me and Em split up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because she's the one that got me hooked on that. And then after that, I just kind of, it was too much of a reminder of her.
Yeah.
Although it's a hilarious podcast, it was just, and it was fun. It was good, and very informative. I'll tell you that. I just recently watched Waco, and there was an episode on that.
I want to watch that.
And that was filmed here in New Mexico. And of course, and it was really good. I didn't know that the FBI just botched it so badly. Like they
didn't.
I didn't know that.
The ATF and the FBI.
Yeah, they really screwed up. They super duper screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that podcast itself was really it was good while I listened to it, but I feel like they started going in a different direction, and I'm like, but are they still on? They're still doing their thing? Yeah.
Yep. They're doing one right now, or they just finished one about the Yorkshire Ripper.
Okay.
So I don't know. I just love that stuff. It's so far away from who I am as a person, but it fulfills something.
It's weird. No, it's not weird, but it's like I think there's just kind of at least when I studied film with the horror film class I took, there was this we, as the semester went on, we discovered that people are always really kind of rooting for the bad guy because it does fulfill this darker side of us that we can't do ourselves. So because humans naturally have those thoughts, we just don't act them out, right? So humans do have really strange, evil, and dark thoughts. So
I actually don't think I've ever thought about how I would kill somebody. I don't think I'm capable.
Oh yes, honey.
But
I don't know. All right, so that one neighbor we had, would you kill him?
No, I wouldn't kill him.
You would
No, but I would love to just beat the shit out of him. That's what I think about. I would beat him. Just a good old fashioned assault.
He was inches away from death.
Yeah.
A good old assault, physical assault.
A good old assault.
Some batteries, nothing complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Is there a favorite episode that you have of that podcast? I mean, I like the Sacramento Vampire, and then the French doctor who was the devil of some sort. If you know who I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. The first one that comes to my mind, as in it stuck with me, is the 9/11 episode.
Ooh,
that one really stuck with me.
I
still think about some of the stuff that I heard from that. So
that was a dark. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm laughing, but I'm laughing because I remember somebody putting it on for their friend on a road trip as oh, I love this show. Let's listen to this episode. And by the time they got to their destination, the friend was severely depressed.
Yeah, bawling. I was listening to it on the way to work and listening to people's final phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, I was like, woo, I have really set the pace for the day.
No, I know.
I'm just hi.
The Oklahoma City bombing ones were pretty rough.
Yeah.
But I like the depictions of Timothy McVeigh as Noodle McVeigh.
Yeah, that's the one where it's bad company, right? That's his favorite song.
He had a girlfriend, and he makes an impression of his girlfriend. He's like, how did he get all the hair to the top of his head like that? Because he had just a really high and tight haircut.
The brush cut. Yeah.
The
brush cut.
It was ridiculous. Anyways, I miss you, Tawny.
Mm-hmm.
Always so good talking to you.
I know.
So you're probably one of the most interesting people I know, and a friend that I've known for amongst the friends that I've known the longest. similar friend group. We met here when you lived in Albuquerque. We were roommates,
Mm-hmm.
and before that, we really didn't talk. We talked maybe we had a couple of exchanges, I think.
Yeah.
And then we decided to move in together because of clouds.
Yeah.
And that was fun. That was a good time. So, but let's at that time you were an actress. Are you still doing acting?
Yeah, I do a bit of acting. I haven't done anything in a while. Usually what I do is I like, fill that acting hole in my heart, and then I have like my own business now. So luckily if I like, my goal for this year was to do more creative things, which I've now just been doing through Instagram.
No, I like it. I like
and
it.
stuff. It's like that's my only outlet. But
you gotta be an influencer.
Yeah, right. 100 people saw my video, so
wow, look at that.
I got 12 likes on it.
You should convert it to a business video so you can get some stats and
yeah. I'm like, who wants to sponsor me and send me free product? No, I do still act though. I was planning on taking some improv classes in May, but obviously I can't. So it has to be like pushed out quite a bit. I don't know. I don't know when they're going to open back up, but
yeah. Is acting something that you've done since an early age? You very much are the personality of just like, like, hey, in a good way. I'm just like, hey, look at me.
I know. I think a lot of that is just like anxiety. Like
really?
when I have, like I use performance as like a way
a literal mask of
kind of like, at a party or with a bunch of people, I'll be like the one leading the conversation and telling funny jokes, and then I get to the bathroom and I'm like but I am naturally an extrovert. Like I definitely have acted since I was very young. My passion was reignited in high school when I had a really awesome teacher who I'm still friends with to this day, who really showed, like, I never thought that I was like a good actress. I just thought I was like goofy. And so I like to have fun. And he really was the one to be like, no, you should pursue this. So yeah, I've, especially 19, 20, 21, I did a lot in film and TV.
I was gonna be like in 1921.
In 1921, from 19 to 21, I did.
I was like, how old are you?
Yeah, well, I look good for my age. I did. I did a lot of acting and film and TV in New Mexico, and then I moved to Northern Ireland to pursue theater. And I went on a couple of auditions there, but I ended up coming back for other reasons. And then in my mid-20s, I worked in film again, but it was more just like working behind the scenes, not like production per se. I was a personal assistant, but I got to
when you moved to LA, right?
That's why I moved to LA, because I had an actor boss. But I moved to LA and he didn't really need me, and he was going to help me.
Yeah. Can we
with
talk
a
about
job?
Can we drop his name?
No. I'm not gonna have that freaking cease and desist order come to my house.
Okay.
We can say this: he was the youngest man to win an Oscar.
Cool.
Back in the day.
Yeah, but so you went out there with the job already lined up? Is that what happened?
Yeah, okay. I was working for him on a TV show up here in Portland, and we went down there, and I worked with him for a few months, but he didn't really need me, so he found an excuse not to use me anymore, even though the idea was that he was going to help me get another job as a personal assistant. Talking about how I should be in like the writer's room and I should start like learning about writing. And so it all sounded really good, but like a lot of actors who especially have been in the industry for a long time are just like, don't know how to like live normal lives anymore. And so like interactions are just different.
Okay.
But you know what? Okay, like imagine a star wants something to drink or whatever. Or
Mm-hmm.
like now, I've thought of it, so you need to have it here now. They live in a world where they're just constantly told yes all the time,
So
especially
it starts to kind of develop this idea of
yeah.
you know,
So instead of
ego.
just being like, hey, this isn't working out, they'll make an excuse, or, you know, they don't want to see you ever again anymore. So, you know what I mean? Like this happens
Mm.
a lot to assistants.
Okay.
Especially if you started as an assistant on like a show or a movie or something, and then you move on to, and by assistants I mean like low level people like me who this was like their first gig. I have friends that are assistants for like 6 or 7 movie stars, actors, singers, etc.
At a
And
time.
they, yeah, oh, it's
Oh.
crazy. They're always on like 2 phones and, you know,
Mm-hmm.
going to
Mm-hmm.
sets and stuff. So a low level person like me, who this was like her first job, it's very easy to just kind of like dismiss. And
Mm-hmm.
I was new to LA and I didn't want to come back with my tail between my legs, which is kind of
Mm-hmm.
what I did when I lived in Ireland. When I came back to New Mexico, well,
Mm-hmm.
New Mexico, Colorado, I really felt like a failure. I felt like I didn't even really get to give it a try.
Yeah.
I ended up just getting a job in restaurants like everybody else does, and
Yeah.
making some really cool connections there. I got to do some really fun stuff, got to go to a lot of improv shows, a lot of
Oh,
comedy. And I was there for 2 years. And then I
yeah.
realized that it just wasn't serving me. I didn't feel like I didn't feel like I was motivated.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I was like there were these big opportunities for me because one, anxiety, right? And so like you kind of start to like feel down on yourself. But when you're around like the best looking people you've ever seen in your entire life,
Yeah, there's a
you
lot of those.
literally feel like a goblin. Like you just are like, ugh, I'm just
So
like,
tawny.
I
It's
know, but
ridiculous.
you do like, and you can't
And
help
you're a
it.
very attractive person, so
That's very
that's
nice of you to say. I appreciate that. It's very nice to say. But it none that didn't
you
serve me. You
still
know what I mean?
right, right. You still felt that way.
It didn't, and I was like, I don't
Yeah.
know what I'm holding on to out here. And you know,
Yeah.
lo and immediately I started taking acting classes and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
uh, going. Was in like I've been in some 10-minute play festivals and stuff. And so I was like immediately like getting work or just working, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have that motivation at all in Los Angeles. And I feel like people move to Los Angeles because you do feel like you have a talent, or you have that it factor or whatever that's going to get
Mm.
you in the movies. And I totally I applaud people for grinding and getting it done. And I do know some successful people, or people that are successful at it, I should say. But I couldn't. Everybody that I knew felt the same. Most of the people that I knew felt the same way as me. Like you start to feel kind of broken down
Mm.
and just not motivated. So, like I said, I applaud anybody who is like
Yeah.
out there living their dream, grinding.
They really are
It's
grinding, right? It's
like you literally are grinding. Like you
yeah.
have to work so much to pay your bills.
It's an
Um,
expensive
I
city. Yeah.
Yes, it's so expensive. I remember the first time I bought a beer. I went to some bar that doesn't exist anymore. I think it was called the Piano Bar or Piano Room or something.
Uh,
And I got a Pabst, and they were like $6.50, and I was like, what? No, you need
like a
two
canned
fifty.
Peps or
A
like
can
draft.
of Pabst, not a draft. $6.50, and I was like, and then the first time I ordered a cocktail, and it was like
uh,
$12. I was like,
yeah. Yeah.
because in
Yeah.
Portland,
I mean, you could get
same
drunk for like
same
nothing.
Monarch gin or whatever it is $3.50. You know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. Um, It's expensive. I mean, rent is expensive. There was one point where I lived in a really bad neighborhood. I lived in an MS-13 neighborhood in East LA.
Yeah.
I was like the only white woman in the neighborhood. It was mostly El Salvadoran and well, I think it was mostly El Salvadoran.
Yeah.
And it was like I lived in this little tiny box. It was my first apartment. I was like, this place is cheap. And I should have known when I was talking to the landlord, and they were like, are you sure you want to live here? Like 3 times.
So they did. They were like,
Yeah, and nobody, and like I didn't have any problems because
right.
why would I have any problems?
Yeah. But I mean,
Nobody messes with the white people in those neighborhoods because they know that this is what someone told me. They were like, white people call the cops. So don't commit any crimes in front of white people. And I was like,
well, also yeah, be careful, or they take better care of you than they do of one another because they're like, fuck that. Something happens.
Yeah,
to you,
that's actually what I. That's
if something
what
happens to you, they're gonna come after them.
Yeah.
You
exactly.
know?
I mean, and like I said, but that was like the first place that I lived at. And then I lived in a house with 6 people, and it was a 3-bedroom house, 6 people living in this house,
yeah.
1 bathroom. So yeah, it's funny when I actually got like comfortable and I had like a nice apartment with a friend. That's like that last year was when I was like, I want to get out of here. You know what I mean? Like it just was finally I'm comfortable and like I my routine. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
And you were so it was just a culmination of all those things really that kind of pushed you out of there.
I mean, I didn't recognize it in myself because I think I had been so unhappy for so long that I just was like pretty good about putting on a happy face. But there were people that started to people who knew me really well started to recognize, and once I had like 4 or 5 people being like, "Are you okay?" and I had to actually like think, "Am I okay?" That's when I was like, "Oh, I'm not. I need to leave." And I'm used to moving a bunch, so it was easy for me to be like, all right, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Sayonara.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, it's just LA is a really difficult place to live, and it definitely will wear you down. But it's a fun place to visit. It's like my Vegas, you know. I go to LA and I go to all the spots and I dress up and I see friends and I just feel fancy.
Yeah, no, it's a fun town. I honestly, I didn't come around to Los Angeles until maybe 2 years ago when I went there to visit a friend who also moved out there to be more on the production end of film, but I feel like so many people out there end up doing other things, and she ended up becoming a teacher now.
Yeah.
You know, in
see?
many schools. So yeah, so she's doing that, and yeah, so it just turns people go out there with one thing and start doing another because it's just, I mean, the film industry in general is just go very cutthroat.
Yeah.
I knew this about LA, but when I was out there, of course, everyone's an actor, so you're invited to even if it's just like a barbecue. I'm like, oh, what do you do? Like, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And there's very much this idea of like, oh, what do you do? Because everyone's a transplant. Where are you from? And essentially, how can I use you to bolster my career?
That's exactly.
Yeah.
You literally could have taken the words out of my mouth. That's exactly what it is. I felt like, in a lot of situations, if you meet someone who's, I don't know, you're like attracted to or interested in or whatever, the first question is, what do you do? Because they want to know if you're worthy of their attention, one. If it's just a friend and you have nothing to offer them, then they don't, it's just insane. Like they don't really want to like spend the time. Now, that being said, I met some really genuine people who I really care about and I really love, but you start to recognize these patterns. I remember I liked this guy who's so cute, and he was a comedian, and I went on a date with him. And for like 2 weeks, it was around the holidays, he was like sending me pictures all the time from his like family's home, and we're in constant contact. And when he came back, he asked me to like spend New Year's with him, and then just stopped talking to me completely.
Like,
and then I was like, no, like after he asked me, he like told me where he was going to be and all that stuff. And I was like trying to, okay, what time should I show up? And blah. nothing, stopped talking to me completely. And
Hmm.
I was the person who was sending all the text messages. Are we
Yeah.
still on?
Yeah. Like, what's going on? Yeah. Should I
And
make
like on
plans?
New Year's, I was like, Happy New Year's. Nothing. I mean, nothing from this
He
guy.
was, I mean, what did you hear from him again? Did you see
I
him?
saw him all the time. I saw him all the time. And we had many mutual friends
Mm,
because we met at a mutual, like, or yeah, at a mutual friend's house.
gathering. Yeah.
And I asked this friend of ours, his and mine, I asked him, like, what's the deal, man? Like, I thought you
Yeah.
liked me. And he made a really good point, and this is not the only time that I heard this, but there's, for every like person that you're interested in, whether it's like to be a friend or whatever, there's like 15 other people, especially, we'll
Hmm.
just say for dating. If
Hmm.
you're interested in a guy or a gal, there's like 15 other guys or gals that they're talking to, and maybe, just maybe, they like blue eyes instead of brown eyes, so they're going to go with that person. It's just because like the
You mean like
buffet is open.
dating in general, or you're talking about LA? Like dating in
Well,
general.
yeah, I mean, I never did dating app stuff. Like, this was before dating app. They had Grinder, but like this is before
Oh
Tinder
yeah,
and
you
stuff.
got on Grinder, huh?
No, I thought no, but I had friends that had it. It was sure fun to
Yeah,
play.
yeah. They're 5 feet
um,
away.
yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I did like, piggybacking on the whole, there's like 15 other people that they're interested in too. There was this beautiful girl that I knew who, this is two stories. One, a beautiful girl who I knew who was going to school for film, and she got all these headshots, and she was like
Uh-huh.
sending them out. And a friend of mine who worked in the film industry was like, this girl's never going to make it, ever.
Uh-huh.
They're like, she was the prettiest girl in her hometown, and so she thought she can come out here and make herself famous, and she's never going to make it because he's like, I can name off the top of my head 50 other girls that look exactly like her. So
Yeah.
these are the conversations that you hear that you're
Right.
like,
It
oh
really
God,
trickles
okay.
down to like, yeah.
I'm like, well, oh, my butt's probably
Mhm.
too big for that audition, or my chest is too flat for that one, or my mouth is too big for it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just there's
Yeah, they're splitting hairs.
yeah. And there was
Yeah.
another gal, again, gorgeous, just
Uh-huh.
actually the most beautiful woman I've ever like physically met. And
Yeah.
she wanted to be a bottle service girl. They make like $1,000 a night.
Oh well.
They work at the clubs and they bring out like the bottles and they pour
Mm-hmm.
your drinks and stuff. And she was told by a club promoter who I lived with. He was like, "No, sorry, you're not. You're not going to make it. There's no way." He
Really?
basically was saying like, yeah, he was like, no, you're not even pretty compared to these other girls. I was
Yeah.
like, and
Yeah.
so when you have low self-esteem and you hear that about the most beautiful person that you've ever met in your life, they're like, nah, you're not that pretty. I was like, I'm a
Right.
goblin.
That's where that comes from. Yeah, I mean
Yeah, it's
competition
just,
the
I'm a
competition is
goblin.
super high. You're
Yeah,
not a goblin, but like I get what you mean. And there is a lot of everyone's out there doing the same thing. So you're a dime a dozen, so the competition's super high.
exactly. Yep.
And they're looking for Joe Schmo or Jane Schmo with
Yeah.
certain color hair, and
Yeah.
there's a ton of you.
This certain builds, this
And
certain,
then
yeah,
yeah, and then not I mean, and then it comes down to like, okay, and then you go in there and perform, or do the audition, and any little thing can throw you off or whatever. So
yeah.
I could see it being difficult. And I mean, did you see that in New Mexico? It's more difficult. What I hear is that you really have to audition in LA to get parts in New Mexico, because although there are certain roles that are saved for, or certain percentage have to be New Mexican, you really have to they save that percentage for the crew. Whereas like the quote unquote talent is all flown in from LA, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So you have to have representation in both cities.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
do have a friend who's been in a lot of things.
Mm.
I went to high school with her, and she's been pretty successful. But she definitely has had like better parts than me and stuff.
Hmm.
But I mean, I worked more in New Mexico than I worked anywhere else.
Yeah.
But I didn't have quality roles whatsoever. Like, it was
I mean, you were a zombie cheerleader. Come on.
I mean, that was for the Duke City shootout.
Yeah.
And actually, I was at, is it Two Fools Tavern?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was at Two Fools with our friend Candace Morales,
Mm-hmm.
and she's been on here before.
Yeah, she has. She has. Listen to her. Yeah.
So I was at that restaurant, and a crew member from some TV show that I think he was like a second AD or something, or a base camp AD. He saw me, and he was running the auditions for the Duke shootout, and he just walked up to my table and was like, "Are you auditioning for this?" And I was like, "No." And he was like, "You should. Here's my personal number. Call me, and I'll pick the script that's best for you." And
nice.
And it worked. It worked. It was great. So it was nice. And then we won. Our movie won the Duke City shootout. But I left shortly after that. I wonder what it would have been like if I had stayed and got better representation and stuff. But no regrets. You know.
I mean, it's done, right? You really can't be like, oh, I should have done it this or I should have done it that way. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And then for a while there, I mean, film in New Mexico kind of, you know, after the economic crisis and all that, it kind of dipped anyway for a few years, and then it only picked it back up maybe in the last, I want to say 4 or 5 years again.
Yeah.
So I mean, not that you could have done much anyway, because it kind of left. You left and everything else left. Tawny.
That's what happened. That they were
well,
like,
she's gone. Well, what's the point? You know? We did this for her.
It was actually one of my motivating factors to go to Northern Ireland, which is technically a part of the UK. One, I had visited there, so I knew a couple people.
Yeah.
But also, the BBC and, well, I just say film and TV in the UK and Ireland, like they really do focus more on talent rather than looks. And I was pretty confident in my talent, not so confident in my looks, but I was like, they'll get past it. It's fine. Like I can just like go. And I did some great auditions, but nothing, it just wasn't the time of the year to go. Of course, I chose like winter. But again, no regrets coming back. I did for a lot of my life regret a lot of mistakes that I've made, not mistakes, but moves that I've made, and wondered, well, maybe if I didn't let this person affect me in this way, or if I didn't listen to this crap, then you know, I would have gone forward. But you know, I'm 33. I'm young still. There's the thing that I heard from actually a producer, she said, there's no rush. Hollywood's not going anywhere. And there's theater everywhere. So you can be an actor anywhere. And there's a lot of really cool creative stuff going on in Portland. And I've got some really great friends that work in theater mostly, which I love. And yeah, no regrets.
Is there I mean, the big one was Portlandia, right? But what else?
Yeah, for a while.
Is there anything else shooting out there?
Yeah, lots.
Really?
A lot of like series that have just like one season. There are quite a few like TNT shows, like The Librarians has been filmed out here. And it's the same production company that I worked for as an assistant. I worked for the actor, not the company, but still. Right. So it's funny to see, because it's like they use the same actors over and over again. Not the one that I worked for, but they use the same actors, and it's just always funny when they're filming and I like driving by and I see an old friend. Yeah, I'm like, holy crap. Yeah. So, but that's also like New Mexico's like that too. There's a lot of the same like
everyone knows each
character actors in the same.
I know. There's just one guy. He was in Waco, and I was like, I see him in everything, and I'm just like, dude, like with like homeboy, like, hey, how's it going? And then those people, you know them. Like, you know, I remember meeting this individual as an extra maybe when I was 18 on Wildfire. Remember that?
I was on that.
Yeah, on WhatsApp. That
I
was
was
a
on Wild. I was on
was it
so many episodes of
really?
Wildfire.
That was an
Yeah,
ABC
ABC Family at the time. Yeah,
family, yeah,
which turned into
production.
CW, I think. But yeah,
I don't know what it was. Then it was like Fox Family, and then I
yeah,
don't know, something weird. But it was yeah, it was on that. Met her as an extra on that, and then she got like a role on that from that extra. She got called up for that, and then just it continued from there. It's and then people, and then you start being on the same thing, and you're like, oh hey, how's it going? Long time no see, yada yada yada. So
yeah,
it's a small world, even though it's very competitive. It is a small world.
yeah.
And you have
And
to know
that
somebody
person,
to get a role or to
yeah,
get a job as a PA, right?
yeah, the person that you're talking about, I'm sure, is a big fish in the small pond. You know what I mean? I think I know who you're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
So that person now will be the first ones to audition for um
Mm,
the roles, because like they've been in enough stuff
yeah,
that their agent can just push them forward for everything, and they will get the role if they're right for it before other people will.
yeah,
And you know,
yeah, yeah. No, I mean absolutely. So it starts trickling in, and then you just kind of build off of that, and I get it. And it's oddly enough, it's you. I would always envied you because you actually did it, but I always wanted to, right? And so I'm thinking I'm finally gonna bite the bullet at some point soon, and actually start taking acting classes.
yeah, it's
uh
it's fun, and it just like
yeah,
reignites you. That's why when it's
right,
been a while
yeah,
since I've acted, I take a class. I spend the money and I take a class, and I'm like, all right,
yeah,
my confidence is back. I got this. And then,
right,
I started
right,
auditioning for stuff. I did have
yeah.
an agent out here, but agent wasn't very good. So
I mean, are you hoping to continue with? I mean, what's your end goal? Are you just it's just a hobby at this point, or do you like really want to be
I mean,
like, I
I
want to like
guess
make it,
well, I don't want to make it. I feel like my dreams have become more realistic in that way, right? I'm not trying to go to the Oscars. I
Come
I
on, Tawny. Just kidding.
I I don't want to be on Us Weekly.
What?
Hello. The
That'd be
stars
dope.
are just like us. They go grocery shopping. They buy cat litter. Um
uh,
that's in those magazines. It's ridiculous.
I mean, but
I
aren't
don't
you following it celebrities on Instagram and you're just like, they are really like us, except they have these amazing houses.
Yeah, I follow tons of actors that I totally like admire, and filmmakers that I admire, and I follow a couple of Kardashians.
I don't follow any Kardashians, Tawny. I really.
uh, but okay, we don't have to go into that. It's mainly because it's one of those things where you're just like, damn, they have so much money and they have so much influence. It's
Mm-hmm,
crazy.
mm-hmm.
But go back to your question. I'm more realistic about the things that I want to do, and I
Mm-hmm.
take it kind of like it's not a hobby,
Right.
because it is my passion. It
Mm-hmm.
is it is absolutely like fulfilling.
Mm-hmm.
And it just makes me like, I
Yeah.
can't quite explain the feeling I get, especially doing live theater.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. Love it. I prefer actually theater to film, because, or TV or whatever, because I'm more confident on the stage in a
Mm-hmm.
live performance, where because anything can happen in theater, and you can
Right.
flub a line and you have to just keep going, or you can misstep and you could hurt somebody accidentally, which has definitely happened to me many
Okay.
times in theater.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
but I feel more confident there. I feel funnier, like I
Yeah.
really love doing physical comedy in theater.
Okay.
Not that I'm opposed to doing film and TV. I just feel much more confident on the stage, like being someone who, that's how I was trained. So
Right.
um
Right. Right. Right.
it's where like my comfort is. But right now it's just something that I do I don't do it all the time, you know, and I want to hone different skills. So that's why, you know, I wanted to take some different classes
Hmm.
and kind of see where that leads me, right? Like taking
Yeah.
a long form improv class or taking a comedy class, like a stand-up comedy class, stuff like
Hmm.
that, you know, just kind of
Hmm.
like pulling from myself in different ways.
Right. Developing your
And
different parts of your,
mhm,
right.
my
What was it?
repertoire. Yeah.
Mike, I can't remember the name. Michael Rappaport. You know him? The
Yeah.
actor. Right. So I listened to him. He was being interviewed on a podcast, and he called it. He's like, think of it as a crayon box. I have 32 crayons, and like I need to have a 64 set. And you know, every crayon is a different actor or a different part of my acting that I can develop.
Yep.
And so you're developing these little things that you
Mhm.
know in your arsenal, so you can
Yeah.
do
And
anything.
I mean, I'm not really in a rush because
Uh-huh.
I don't, like I said, I don't have that like dream of being super famous or anything. So once you take that away, once you take the whole like, I'm
Hmm.
moving to LA and I'm going to be like the next Jennifer Lawrence, once you take that out of it, then, and your expectations are just, they're lower, but they're not lowered expectations. But your expectations are just more realistic. And so it's like when I act and I
Right.
feel great when I do it. And when I don't, I'm not beating myself up. That was the thing. I was beating myself up living in
Right.
LA,
Like
being like, you're
yeah,
not doing anything. But I just,
you're not doing it right. There's a right way to do it. Yeah.
yeah. And I was just
Yeah.
like, I'm not motivated. And that was so
Mm,
depressing to me. It
yeah.
was that I'm like, I'm literally here. I can do, and I was just not motivated. Um, and out here I'm comfortable, you know what I mean? So I feel like
Hmm.
I can go for auditions and stuff when I want it, and um
How do you
take
find
classes when
auditions?
I want it.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you just like subscribe to something, or like how do you get auditions yourself?
uh because there's, I don't know, I just
Net-
look.
Networks of people, and there's like
There's
calls.
something called the Portland Casting Hub
Oh, okay.
on Facebook. And so
Oh,
a lot of theaters will send their audition notices there, and also film, TV, all that stuff.
oh, okay.
It's one of those like members only, so you have to have like someone that you know get you into it. And sometimes I'll just like look on theaters' websites, you know,
Yeah, just to
see
see if there's an open casting
what
call.
they have. And there's auditions all the time. And there's a few that I passed up because I was like, would I really have time? But like I said, now that I like own my own business, I can make time, you know,
Yeah. Yeah,
I
you're a
can make
little
my
more
own hours.
you can do that, and you can do what you
Yeah.
want a little bit more, and you're free, which is really nice. I thought that's really awesome.
And now that we're in quarantine,
Now you can focus on
no
your food.
auditions, but still.
I'm telling you, you got to be an influencer. That video yesterday, that whole segment of you with the food and the spicy,
Oh
and
my God.
it was great. It was awesome. It was like you should do a whole thing. Shtick. Have you downloaded TikTok yet?
Oh yeah, I did.
Okay.
One of my because there was one that I did about, oh yeah, about doing my lashes.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my friends on Facebook was like, you have got to get a TikTok. So I did, and my last two videos with me rescuing a snail in the
Oh
food
yeah.
crisis last night. The food crisis last night. I mean,
Okay.
this morning, I had to change my sponge. There's so much red pepper in my sponge just from like the sink last night. Mm,
Mm-hmm.
mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Ripsy.
Oh, whatever. Whatever. But okay,
Don't
so
drink a lot before you cook, huh?
don't drink a lot in general. Let me tell you that. Then
Mm-hmm.
you don't then you feel like you feel real rough the next day.
Yeah.
I can't handle it like I used to. Let's just put it that way. No
I take
more.
a medication, and this is,
Oh,
don't put
okay.
this in
So
the podcast.
I thought about
I take a medication that keeps me from having a hangover. I don't think that it's not the intended purpose. Okay, it's not the
no.
intended
Okay.
purpose, but
So
that's what happened.
I was thinking about that this morning, and I was like, what does it do that prevents the hangover? I'm wondering, like, what mechanisms in your body?
Usually it's just a bunch of B vitamins and electrolytes. Maybe you
So it's
can
just
try taking emergency before you go to bed because it's got a bunch of electrolytes in it.
No, it checks
and a
out.
bunch of vitamins, and then like a B supplement. And see what
Okay.
happens.
Okay. See what happens.
Mine's a nerve blocker. I don't understand why it works.
So
But
you
it
literally just
works.
don't. You just don't feel anything. Is that what you're trying
No,
to tell
I
me?
mean, like I'll feel drunk. I'll feel like,
Oh no, yeah. But you don't feel the bad stuff.
and then I like take my medicine at night, and I wake up, and I'm like, "Good morning," like I'm Ian, even though hangovers now are so difficult for me. They're so bad. Especially if I've gone like blackout drunk, which does not happen anymore.
Oh
But
no
let's say I
way.
did.
That's
Let's say I did a couple of weeks ago. Let's just say that a
for
couple of weeks
example.
ago,
That's rough.
for example, we'll just say that I got super drunk, and by 2 p.m. the next day, is there a ghost in your house? Did you
No
see that?
way. No way. Was there something
Your
behind
bag
us?
just fell over.
Oh, there's a window open. It's probably
Look.
the wind.
Okay. Sorry.
No, it's not in the background. Oh
So
yeah, that's
I
Tony.
drink.
That's Tony. Yeah,
It,
Tony
it
Bourdain.
was kind of
He
freaky.
moved. He moved in after his
Tony
passing.
Bourdain.
Rip Tony.
Aw.
You know.
Um. Anyways, I didn't like get undrunk until about 5 o'clock, and that's when the uh, hangover kicked in, and then it was
Oh.
just like I think I have to throw up, and yeah, it was
5
rough.
p.m. the next day.
Yes, that's
You were
how my hangovers
you
are.
were so drunk that
I know.
you were drunk until 5 p.m. the next day. I mean, I'm not
I
judging
drink
you,
so
but I feel like
much.
that's a lot of booze. That's a lot of booze for your
I
body to
know,
just
but you know
just.
me. I've always been able to put him down, kick him back.
Is that
It's nothing to brag about.
would you define that as being able to put him down?
That's actually a really good point. Uh, not if you can't remember the last few hours of being awake, how you made it
I
into
don't
your
think
bed.
I don't
Oh,
consider
I
that.
threw up that night. So I remember now. I threw up that night. And I was like
Successfully
on the
drunk.
toilet throwing up, and I was like, how did I get here?
You're like, what?
Yeah, so you're right. That's definitely not,
Being able
that's
to
not
put him back.
professional. That's not pro level.
Oh no. I mean, I think about it, like I'll have a few drinks and I'm just like, it's hammer time. It's fucking hammer time, dude. It's like a beer and a couple of like a couple of drinks on the rocks, and watered down. Like I'm not even gonna like I've been doing like whiskey and water the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
And like and it's hammer time for me. And then I think back and I'm like, I used to drink way more. Like I used to drink a lot more. We used to drink a lot more. And I'm like, I would be fucking dead right now. Like I don't know. I mean, there's no way I could do that anymore. My body,
When
it's an age thing. I don't know what
yeah,
it is. Maybe it was
when
because I took 5 years off.
yeah, right. Maybe. I mean, when drunk Tawny takes over, she's invincible. And
Mhm.
she can
I
have
mean,
all the vodka.
she wants
She
to
can have
fight
all the gin.
everybody. She wants to
She can
fight
have all
everybody. Is what you mean?
No, I don't do that anymore. I'm
Mhm.
such a calm, sweet, gentle soul.
Oh no, it's great. It's great.
I don't fight anymore. I don't
I'm
need to
different.
fight.
No, I'm different as well. Yeah. I mean, also, I'm not getting rip roaring drunk anymore, but like, I'm also
Also,
very different.
I never actually fought anybody.
You just got real aggro.
I'm
I mean, I did
like,
too.
hit me, see what happens.
So you get in people's faces and you did this whole finger thing, but I mean, I definitely did the same. And then towards the end of my like initial, like when I first stopped drinking, I was just very emotional. So I really had to stop to just get my shit together. I had a lot of feelings because my life was just, out of sorts.
Yeah.
So yeah, I needed like time out
Yeah.
just to figure my shit out.
Yeah. And it's interesting. This actually kind of goes back to
This is also the
acting.
first time I openly say that I'm drinking again, by the way.
Aw.
I mean, I never my friends and family know, but like,
Yeah.
listeners. But yeah, but going back to acting.
It just reminded me what you said, that like you needed time to kind of like take a break and reevaluate yourself and like
Mm-hmm.
move through some emotions that,
Yeah. Yeah.
navigate through some emotions that you weren't dealing with or whatever.
Yeah.
The first acting class that I took out here in Portland, I had, I'm sorry, this is a lie. The second acting class I took. I say the first, but is because
Yeah.
both of the teachers they're married to each other. So one was right after the other.
Yeah.
They would always have us like check in at the beginning of class, and everybody would be like, all right, how you feeling? How's it going? And I'd be like, good. I'd be like, good, good, good. What's good? What's good? I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, well, we'll let someone else go and we'll show you what we mean. Okay. So then someone's like, so here's how I'm feeling. I hurt myself on stage last night. My knee is really sore, and that's making me feel like I'm old. I'm not on top of my game. It makes me feel inadequate. It makes me feel da 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 da.
Yeah.
And then they come back to me, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. So actually, this is how I feel. And this is now. I've taken this. I was 28 at the time that I took the class. Now I've like put that in practice in my life, and it's made me so much more emotionally mature because I like can recognize the emotions as they come. And this isn't me like patting myself on the back. It's just I feel like I understand better why people react the way that they do, because I'm thinking to myself like, well, why did I just blow up like that? Like when I take something out on my husband, I'm always like, hey, look, this isn't about you. I'm feeling very anxious about this, or this thing is upsetting me. And I've always tried to be the kind of person to like talk through emotions. Like if we got beef, let's squash it kind of thing. Like I'm also the first person to be like, I'm really sorry. It's all my fault. I'm so sorry. I can handle it. I'll just take on all the blame for this, whatever, as long as we're cool. It's like it's made me a much more sensitive and empathetic person to just kind of like catch those emotions and recognize them, acknowledge them really before they get out of hand.
Absolutely. I mean, it brings up a couple of things. I want to bring up the show Barry. Have you watched that?
A bit, yeah, not completely. Joe really liked it. That's my husband, Joe. But
I've only watched I'm only like a few episodes in, but the idea that they bring up in the beginning of the show is just like use that emotion, right? Use your feelings, check in, pull on those emotions that you have from life. That's how you're going to be able to kind of do that. And going back to a lot of what you're saying, I think that's why I'm finally feel like I'm in a place where I can maybe start going back to performing in any way. To an extent, yeah, I perform on here and I have my, radio voice and yada, yada, yada. But it's, I think after having done a lot of emotional work and being able to kind of ask myself, why am I feeling this way? And then stopping in the moment and recognizing those emotions helps me at a later point be able to draw on those a little bit more vividly and better, right? And I think maybe that's what you're getting at as well, is that like because I'm stopping and recognizing and not just reacting and understanding what I'm feeling and when I'm feeling it. If somebody directs me to say something with a certain emotion, I can vividly remember, okay, this is what I feel and this is how I behave during this emotion. Let me just put it on this kind of canvas, right?
And that's something that I apply to my life. Like I said, it's made me a more empathetic person. I'm sorry, a more sympathetic person. I'm already like empathetic of everybody. It's like a problem.
I'm an empath.
I am. It's bad.
No, I
it's
get
bad.
you. I get you.
I'm
I
like,
think
your vibes are making my stomach hurt.
I think a lot of actors are though, right? Aren't they? Like I feel.
Yeah, I guess that's you kind of have to be.
And actors are kind of introvert. I mean, it's kind of. Here's the thing. I feel like actors are really, a lot of them are very much introverts.
At the core.
Right, at their core. But they, like yourself and myself, we can perform out of anxiety and out of necessity, like as a survival tactic. So a lot of people, for me, they'll be like, you're such an extrovert. I was like, bullshit, you don't know me. Like I hate people. Right? Like I don't really like it. I really don't like. I kind of hate people, but like I genuinely, I'm just like, you know what? Like if I don't have to, like I'm good, right? I'll avoid. I will cancel last minute and be like, you know what? I'm fucking good. But here's the thing. It's they're like, well, how can you do this, like, or give these lectures or give these talks or do these things? It's because I've been put on the spot my whole life for so
Yeah.
many different things. So I've just, as a coping mechanism, I'm just like, okay, read the room, what's going on.
Turn it on. Yeah.
I turn it
Yeah.
on and be like, like mask.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. Yeah.
was that, I can't remember the line from the name of the song. Is a Childish Gambino song where he kind of defines his coping mechanism. It was just like he told this girl how he feels, and then she goes and tells all these other girls about it, right? And then he's like, what I learned, it was a lesson. It wasn't like being harder, yada yada yada. I didn't come off that bus a man, but what I learned was that I'm just gonna put it all out there from the beginning, so nobody can use it against me,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So you just like put your stuff out there. Now you have
No.
nothing against me,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
That's also something that people use when they're bullied, right? So
Mm-hmm,
if you've
mm-hmm.
been told the same things over and over again in your life,
Yeah.
you know, overweight or you have a
Mm-hmm.
big nose or any of that stuff, if you're the first one to say it, then nobody like
It's
it doesn't
self-deprecating, yeah.
hurt when somebody else says it. You're like, I already put it out there. It was actually an episode of Girls that she
Mm.
says this. She's like, there's nothing that you can say to me that I haven't already said to myself, if not worse.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
she's not using that as humor, but that's like, she's, you know, being realistic about that also is just
Yeah.
kind of like, I'm putting it all out there. Like, there's nothing you can say to me that's going to hurt me. That's coming from a low self-esteem kind of point of view of someone who's bullied. But, you know, you think about self-deprecating humor. It's like one of our
Yeah.
favorite things is
Yeah.
self-deprecating
You just
humor.
shit on
And
yourself.
again, it's,
Yeah.
yeah, if, you know,
Yeah.
here it is, here's all my flaws. What are you going to say about it? Like,
I'm
you
like,
can't
you
say
can
anything if I've
you
already
you
said it.
can't do it better than I can because
Yeah.
I know myself the best.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Yeah. I'm gonna make it funny. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And like it is a riot, and those people are attractive, and you want to be around them because they're just a hoot, right? They're fucking riot. And
Confidence is sexy. And it's even confident, like I consider it confidence to be like,
you know what? Like these are my
yeah,
flaws.
yeah,
What are you gonna do about it? Like I'm
yeah.
I'm putting myself out there, and people are just like,
I
what?
guess let me
Yeah.
take that back. Honesty is sexy, not confidence. Cause like there's some people who are confident that you're like,
Well, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah.
honesty is great. You
I
know,
mean,
just being honest.
I would say it's confident in the sense that you know yourself, right? But it is also honesty. It's not cocky, right?
Right. Yeah.
I think I'd been seeing this woman a while back, and she's like, I don't know what it is about you. You seem real cocky, and I don't know if I like it or not. And I'm like, you keep bringing me around, right?
Which is like the cockiest thing you could say.
It is real cocky. But
Yeah.
I
Well,
was
you
saying
keep
it for
bringing me around.
that's bullshit. Yeah, well, thanks for calling me out on that, Tony. That's true. Touche. Touche.
I'd have been
Uh,
like,
but
whatever.
here's the
Roll my
thing.
eyes. Can
Right.
you hear my
I'm
eyes
like,
rolling right
yeah,
now?
I was like, go get them. They rolled to the back into the kitchen.
Yeah, let me go get my eyeballs
Get
that
your
just
eyes
rolled.
back there. Right. But the idea was just like, listen, like I'm like, okay, like, yeah, I'll play into it. Right.
Yeah,
I can play the role. If you think I'm cocky, cool. It's fun. Let me play it up a little bit. And if you're really on my level, we'll riff and we'll go
yeah,
back and forth
yes,
and
yeah,
we'll build on each other and we'll just have this fucking thing going because there's
yeah,
people. Hey Joe, he's in the background there just dancing.
yeah.
Right. And then there's he's just busting a groove. Like, yeah. So like actually one of the people I met in LA last time I was out there, it was great because she was really cool. Her name was Gabriela Mayorga, I think.
Mhm.
And she went to West Mesa in Albuquerque. But you can tell like they're your tribe in the sense that like you start being able to riff off each other and you
Yeah,
spiral and you're just like improvising. You're just like boom,
yeah,
boom, 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 and you're
yeah,
having just a riot. And we're just on a hike, right?
yeah,
Like in the Hollywood
yeah,
Hills, just going on a hike, and you're just like, I just met you 5 minutes ago, but like we're immediately on this level. And that's how
yeah,
I was like, I could do this forever. And that's what, like, it was 2 years ago. It was after my breakup with M. That's when I realized I was like, okay, if this is what this is like, and this is what I can do, I can only imagine if I set my mind to it, right?
yeah.
and it's being able to kind of go back and forth, and it sounds cocky and all that out there, but
It doesn't always sound
right,
cocky.
but I'm
Like,
just being honest. I'm just
yeah,
being honest. And
yeah,
if that comes across to you as cocky, it's just who I am. I'm sorry,
yeah,
but there's not really much I can do about it. And maybe to
yeah,
some people, it just come across as cocky or threatening or whatever, right?
yeah.
I will say that I do put a lot of people off and make a lot of people feel insecure. I'm sure you do, Tawny.
I don't think I do.
No, but I think you're just a very confident person, right? And somebody who maybe isn't very insecure can come across as like pretentious.
Yeah, I'm sure I've been pretentious a million times.
Yeah.
My goal, I mean, like I work with people. I'm with people all the time. So, um, there's a point I haven't had anybody like ever complain about like
Yeah.
my conversation while, being an esthetician or anything like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what do you do again? Go into
Yeah,
detail.
so I wax buttholes for a living.
Right. So while you're all up in there,
Yeah, I'm not like, what? So no, but people feel comfortable just talking to me, and they know that they'll get like an honest response out of me. And
yeah,
the one thing that I do that I know I do too much is that I try to offer advice or a different kind of like approach or whatever. And
yeah,
there's some people that really appreciate that. They're
sure,
like, cool, yeah, cool. That's
yeah,
great. Actually, great. I didn't think of it that way. And then there's people that are like, yep, just talking to you, really didn't need you to tell me how to do this situation. I just want to talk about it. And I'm like, okay. It's like the kind
right,
of people that,
right.
they say something and you're like, well, if you think about it this way, and they're like, no, that's not. And you're just like, oh, okay. Yep.
Got it.
Not going to give you any advice. Got it.
Yeah,
Got it. So, which that's totally fine too, but that's just like, I'm sure I come off as a know-it-all sometimes. And I'm like a know nothing know-it-all. I'm like a know something know-it-all. I know a little bit about everything, but not a lot of bit about anything.
yeah. A jack of all trades, but a master of none. Is that kind of like
Exactly.
along those
But
lines?
with like useless knowledge. I'm like,
I,
man, the Battle of Hastings was nuts.
dude, yeah. I think that's what
Look
makes
at
me good
you.
at what I do now. Like I do sales and PR. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, yeah, fucking the gift of gab.
Yeah.
I have a cousin. I remember we were on like a road trip together, a family road trip or something. He's like, "Did you ever shut up?" Like he's like, just fucking talk." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Just the most random shit." And it's like, you know a lot, but like how he's like, how the fuck do you know that each one of those wires on the Golden Gate Bridge is a mile long? Like that's a random fucking fact.
That's the shit that I know.
You're just
Joe
like,
will always
yeah,
grab my knee underneath the table or just like scoot his shoe. It's almost like kicking me under the table, but
yeah.
just a gentle knee squeeze is like,
Uh-huh.
let somebody else talk. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Let somebody else talk.
I get
It's like
excited
that.
around people
It's
and I'm
like
like,
that.
bleh.
Right. It's like, well, again, it goes back to that performing, right? So I
Yes.
think I used to not know that when I was in my early 20s or my 20s in general, I feel like, but like as time went on, I had to learn how to check myself and be like, oh, okay, it's not the Oscar show. I also learned that in dating, it's very off-putting if all I'm doing is talking about myself, which I get, and people love talking about themselves, so I'm not alone in that camp. But
No, but that's what they always say as like a
right.
guy, just ask the girl questions because women love talking about themselves. But if
They
you're
do,
someone like
yeah,
us
yeah.
who are just like, did you know that?
Right, just like talk, and I could tell you all day. But yeah, like I think I don't know if it's true, but I heard somebody say once that like if somebody's letting you talk, is because they like you, right?
Hmm.
So maybe it goes vice versa, right? So
You're
it's
like
like,
interested. Yeah.
yeah, being like, oh, okay, cool, like tell me more. And honestly, the podcasting has led me to kind of really, really work on my line of questioning. I recently met somebody on Hinge and she's like, wow, you asked so many questions. I was like, oh, sorry. Like, I don't mean to. She's like, no. It's great.
It's like, are you a cop?
Well, that's what I told my kids. My daughter, Addie, she was, I can't remember. She was asking somebody so many questions. I was like, what's with the fucking questions, cop? Like, geez, like take a chill pill, dude.
She's like, I'm learning it from you, Dad.
Yeah. Well, like, yeah. She's like, what are the neighbors doing? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I mean, what? Who cares, dude? Like, yeah, they're weird, but like, it's none of my business, and nor do I care. You
How
know,
old is she? 6?
she's 8.
Oh, okay.
She'll be 9 in
Oh, yeah, okay.
September.
She's just like like 2 years. She'll be 9 this year?
Yeah, fucking 9.
Yeah, so she's a year younger than my niece.
9 going on like 33.
Yeah. Yeah, when I met her, she was 6 going on
Yeah,
36.
yeah. But she's
Never had a child roll their eyes at me so hard because I was being too goofy. You were like, she's not a baby. I'm
yeah.
like,
Well,
oh.
it's easy to forget. I mean, girls develop faster, right? And then,
Yeah.
also she's almost as tall as Noah, and
Oh
Noah's
my
2 years
God.
2 years older than her. And because she's around older people all the time, since she's the youngest, she's she's just, levels up the maturity and the level of conversation. So she's just up there, and we forget that she's younger. We forget that
Yeah.
she's not 10, right? We think that she's older than she actually is. And you have to remember that she's actually younger, that she's still a baby, right?
Yeah.
To a lot of and so it can be very confusing for me. I'm just like, wait, well, you're in this big body, but you're very little. She's taller than all she's a tall kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's taller than her cousins who are her age or older. And it's in so it's yeah. And then she's got the personality for it, because she's definitely the performer. you know
Yeah.
she's definitely like the dancer. She likes dancing. She loves TikTok. She does like all the moves. And then but then she starts dancing, and I'm like I start busting a groove, and she's like, you're lucky you have you. And I'm like, girl, it's genetic. And she's like, Dad, no. Or again, the eye roll. Or she likes singing. She wants to act. She wants to do all that. So maybe I'll pass the baton and not do it myself. But
Yeah, there you go. Just be a momager
I
or
mean,
dadager.
I was gonna say, maybe I'll be like
And
Macaulay Culkin's or Lindsay Lohan's
yeah, I was
parents.
gonna say like Tiger Woods' dad. Yeah.
Just be a nightmare parent. I'm like, I need you to make me rich,
That's how
because
success
I'm
happens.
living vicariously through you, kid. Fucking get the
Have
line right.
you seen Honey Boy about Shia LaBeaugh's dad?
Yeah. So yeah, I saw
Yes.
that it was a story that was based on his actual life,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that was such an interesting take on everything. I mean, so I was very confused by the end, because I'm like, does he hate his dad? He loves his dad, right?
Because
But it
it's his
was
dad, I
right.
think.
But was it an homage to his father, or more of
I
just like,
think so. His therapist actually had him um, write the movie.
oh,
His therapist
like a
from the
cathartic
rehab center
thing?
that he was in, like as
Okay.
like a cathartic,
Yeah.
cathartic,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
cathartic.
Yeah.
Got
Yeah.
it. Sorry. For some reason, when you like say a word and you're like,
It
what?
sounds weird.
Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So cut that out.
No.
Cathartic for him to like write it all down to see why he actually is the way he is,
Mm-hmm.
why he has substance abuse issues. It's all about inherited trauma.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and that's kind of like what I got from it is like, you know, a lot of people still love their abusers, especially if they're family, if you
Mm-hmm.
can like forgive them,
Mm-hmm.
um, especially if you're not around the person anymore. And I say this is probably mostly true for like children and parents, but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's about, it's inherited trauma. That's what that's about. I was gonna say earlier, um, it was about Addie. I can't remember. Anyway,
It's probably a lie, but just kidding. Yeah, no,
nothing.
it's all about trauma. But like, yeah, I know I'm not gonna be the manager. I'm not gonna. If she wants to do it, I'll get her into it.
Yeah.
And there's programs and there's stuff that she can do as well. And I won't say that she's lucky to have me, but to an extent she is, because I don't think that was really fostered in me growing up,
Same.
right?
Same. My
So
sister, they did it for my sister, but not for me. And I was the one who was serious about it. My
yeah.
sister was just kind of like, I don't really do that. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Um,
which is fine. It's just not a big deal.
yeah. What I was going to say a moment ago was, it's just a difference, and this is what you're talking about too. It's a difference in how you were raised versus how you're raising your child.
Right.
That she is more mature.
Mm-hmm.
When our parents raised us, like we
Mm-hmm.
were kids,
We little
because
kids. Yeah.
yeah, like, and we were kids for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But there's generationally been, you know, changes. You know, it's like my mom raised me this way, so I would never do that to you. But then you do things to your child that they're
Yeah.
gonna say, I won't do that to my, like,
Yeah.
you can't not traumatize your kids,
It's
basically,
gonna
because you
happen.
might just say something that you never know will stick with them forever.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, could cause an insecurity or whatever, but like you wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
But I've noticed that all of my friends that are, you know, our age, that have children, their kids are just so much more balanced and so much more like intelligent and mature, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's truly a testament to like us actually learning from our parents' mistakes,
Yeah. Yeah.
and and realizing what was lacking for you, you'll make sure that your child's not lacking.
Yeah.
And again, our parents had the same thing, right? Like whatever was lacking for them, they're going to make sure their kids aren't lacking. But nobody's perfect, so it's always going to be like this. There's always going to be
Yeah.
something. But that means that like our kids are going to be more accepting of, you know, the gender spectrum. Our kids are going to be more understanding of and like accepting of just people with, you know, different abilities and things. Whereas like we didn't have that, right? So our
Yeah.
kids are growing up in a more, well, you hope, in a more friendly environment
Mm-hmm.
of
Mm-hmm.
tolerance. So,
Yeah.
and that's a
Emotional,
testament just to, yeah,
higher emotional EQ or EQ
yeah,
levels, right? Right. So
yeah,
it's.
and
Mhm.
and um, I mean, if you're able to in yourself recognize why you're feeling this emotion or
Yeah.
whatever, if you're able to if you're an emotionally mature person who can recognize things, which I think a lot, like most people in our generation are more emotionally mature than our parents and the generations before that,
Yeah.
um, you are able to instill that in your child, and your child, like, we don't
Mm-hmm.
have to spank our kids anymore, you know. You
Yeah.
can actually talk through stuff with them. It's not just
Yeah.
like, no, you shouldn't have done that, and like get a
Yeah.
spanking. Like now it's like, hey buddy, I know you're feeling a lot of emotions right now, so I'm gonna let you cry and I'm gonna leave you in the room and you just let it all out, and then when you're ready
Yeah.
and you're calm down, you can come and join
Yeah.
us. And the kid's like, okay. You know what I
Yeah. No, no, I
mean?
know.
Like, that's
Yeah.
crazy to me. I watch people do this to their parents. We're just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Absolutely.
know what I'm trying to say, man? I feel like I sound like I'm stoned.
No,
Uh,
but I don't really.
yeah,
No, dude, no.
I'm just so proud of my friends.
I love you, man. It's so it no, it's weird. I just for some reason I just had this kind of flashback to like,
I love you, man.
I just had this flashback to getting so high. I swear I found the cure for cancer. Like I swear I solved world hunger at one point too, but then like I immediately forgot it because I was way too high. And there's such thing as too high. That was years ago.
Oh yeah.
And I passed out once from being too high. It's called greening out, apparently, like blacking out, but like for weed. And then I thought it was just a weird thing. This Canadian girl I met once
Greening
told me,
out. I
yeah,
love that.
she's like, you greened out. I was like, oh, it's a thing. She's like, yeah. And then years later, I was actually in Austin and staying on a friend's couch, and my friend's roommate came back with her boyfriend early from a concert because that happened to him. And I was like, dude, I thought that was the only one. Like, but like that happened to you. He just fainted, and you just get so high that your brain just like shuts off,
Yeah.
like too
Turn
much
off
THC.
for a while.
Yeah, it's like reboot,
Yeah.
like Frozen
I
reboot.
had an edible like that. It was like a homemade edible, and I
Yeah,
was like, I need to go to bed now. I went to bed, and when
yeah,
I woke up the next day, I was still so high. I was like hallucinating, like
Yeah.
audible and visual hallucinations. And I was like, what do I do? I just had to write it out. I just write it out.
Yeah,
Like,
man.
and that was the highest I've ever been. So
No, the most I'll do is like I'll do some edibles these days, but it's mostly just to chill out, to the fuck out. And it has a different impact on me. It's more of, is it sativa that's more mellow, right?
no, indica,
Indica.
indica,
Indica.
couch.
Indica. That's what it is. So indica.
Yeah.
And it's more of, yeah. And I like that one. And it's more just to help me relax. Because I was going
Yeah.
through some health stuff, like, as you remember, I had mentioned to you before. And it just chilled me the fuck out, man. I
Yeah.
mean, it wasn't more, I wasn't spiraling, I wasn't paranoid. And I was like, okay, I can do this. Also, it's a different effect when you eat it than when you
Yeah, definitely.
smoke it, right? So
Yeah.
I took it with my sister when she was here in town. And I look at her and I was like, are you high? She's like, I don't think so. She's like, what? I was like,
Oh, wait, you're
she's
here?
like, no, I think I'm just, she's like, I think I'm just really tired. I was like, me too. I'm like, I
That's
love
usually
you.
what happens to me. I
I was
just
like,
go to
I
sleep.
love you. Good night.
Yeah.
And I was just like, good
Yeah.
night.
7:00. It's time to go to bed. I gotta go to bed right now.
Yeah, but I didn't feel high. I just felt like super drowsy, you know?
I take CBD and indica hybrid gummies. That's what I take for like pain and stuff.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I take. But that's my doctor off the record recommended me this tincture, kind of like oil that you can either like
Oh, yeah.
swallow or like rub in your skin. It's very expensive, but
Yeah.
it's just pure CBD and grapeseed oil, and it's like 1,000 milligrams of CBD in this like bottle.
I have some actually.
Yeah,
My
it's so good for like chilling your body out and relaxing your muscles, which is like my chronic health problem causes really tense muscles, like muscle inflammation and stuff, and joint inflammation. So I mean, like, I don't want to take painkillers. I don't want to take Advil all day and stuff. So usually at night I have like a CBD gummy, and once I get this tincture in,
yeah.
I'll be using that. But it's kind of cool, like in Oregon and Portland, I'm sure it's the same way in the Southwest too, but your doctors like believe in more stuff. So they're like, you should get some acupuncture, or you should get like, they're like really into natural medicine too, which I think
more and more doctors are leaning that way. Yeah. They're just like, you know what? Like, I've heard good things about this. Let's check it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I had a sinus infection and I had acupuncture in my face and it was gone the next day. I did
really?
Also, when all the needles were taken out, I was like, nose was just like running like crazy. But yeah, it was gone the next day.
I feel like I've
It
had
just relieved all the pressure.
constant like nasal issues.
Yeah.
Okay, so acupuncture in the face. I'll go do that. I'm gonna do that whenever I can next, just because, or I could just get needles myself, right?
No, oh my God.
Looked like
it is.
Pinhead.
She put one in my temple where my face like immediately went like, it was like, she's like, relax your face. And I was like, I can't.
Yeah. I've got them in my ears before, and it's such a weird sensation for sure. You know, sometimes it hurts, and I was like, oh, that was way too deep. Oh, fuck.
Oh yeah. When you have any sort of like inflammation and they stick the needle in.
Yeah, it hurts. Yeah.
Just like your nerves are like, it hurts. Yeah. But I mean, then the inflammation goes down. So
that's good. All right, Tawny. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. This has been a treat. I love you and I miss you.
I love you and I miss you too. I'm going to stop recording, but let's just chat for a second after, okay?
Okay.
But if you're listening, bye guys. Thank you so much for joining.